Good morning. Good morning. And this morning we're going to be talking about demotivation. 3 ways exactly how we demotivate ourselves on a frequent basis and how do we actually avoid them. So additionally, we're going to have some points that we're talking about. I got to remove real quick my my live streaming Twitch. It wasn't working. Either way, we're going to answer the questions of self-talk. What is inner dialogue and how can it be positive or negative and so much more to just, man, we can either defeat ourselves or we can lift ourselves up. It's really nuts what we're capable of doing. But we're going to talk about all that today. Enjoy the morning show. Cheers, friends. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Terror Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in with us this morning. Today, we're going to go over 3 ways to demotivate ourselves. These are common things that happen all the time, and we're just going to give some examples, and then hopefully you in your own position, your situation, because everything is unique to you, that you can think of, how can I raise awareness to this? How can I improve upon this? And how can I have an amazing, wonderful day? Because we're starting our mornings off right here at the Talk Taryn Morning Show. So point number 1 is generalization. This is what we want to worry about. So we're going to go over these 3 ways. And first is to generalize. So generalization. So I left an example on here. I have already been left twice. People will always leave me. For example, something more personal to me is I've reached out to a couple people for my 1-page life plan class, and they didn't want to take it. Nobody wants to do this. No, I mean, it's clear that this is garbage and it just doesn't work. Generalization, I think, is one of the biggest causes of suffering, because we form these strong opinions off of just very, very little experience. When you think of how many people, how many interactions are going on in the world, and then so if you have we see this all the time with like culture war and all this kind of crap. Somebody has one bad instance with someone of a particular sex, race, whatever, and they just blanket slate everything generalization. This causes a lot of perpetuating suffering, because when we have a negative thought or negative feeling to someone else, we tend to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And this self-talk, this inner dialogue that's going on, the generalizer, it is usually negative, and it's really harsh on us, and it ruins our present moments, right? It ruins our lives, you could say, because the presence is all we actually have. So first one we really want to work on is generalization. Be careful of this. So if you catch yourself, you're starting to generalize, you're forming strong opinions off of small experiences. Maybe it can be a chance to just pause and to challenge those thoughts. So as we're going through today, this morning, you're thinking in your journaling, or you're talking to your friends, family, or whatever, catch yourself. If you're annoyed or if something's happening, am I generalizing right now? Do I believe that all people are like this? Because the generalizers are usually ones who suffer pretty frequently. Okay, next up, and to our point, demotivating ourselves, right? Rash conclusions. So next up is rash conclusions. So we have, you can say jumping to conclusions. That's with an S, Tanner. Not very good at spelling. But this morning show has kind of forced me to like improve on it, right? Okay, rash conclusions. Why hasn't he replied? He must hate me. Or what's another good one? Or I reach out to somebody, they haven't gotten back to me yet. They just don't like me. This just isn't working out. Or thinking of one of your kids, they're out doing something, they haven't talked to me in a couple hours. Oh, they're dead. They must be dead. Something horrible's going on. I think I've done this so much in the past and it's caused me a lot of suffering. So I wanted to talk about it today. Hopefully, I don't know if you do this a lot yourselves. I know a lot of my clients do this. I've done this a lot, but just jumping to these rash conclusions. I think it ties well with the generalization, but it is slightly different. But these rash conclusions of just, okay, I have this situation going on in my life. I have something that doesn't really work out. Boom, jump to a rash conclusion, and I'm just even harder on myself. So let's be weary of these this morning. Maybe we're going through the day. We just want to be careful of these rash conclusions. Say if you're engaging with somebody, I know the examples are relationship based because a lot of those are easy examples to relate to. But so somebody hasn't replied to you, whether it's in business or personal life, it doesn't mean they hate you. Think of how busy you get on a day-to-day basis, and everyone's in a different chapter and moving different things. So it's really easy to jump to conclusions, I believe. And I like to give people the benefit of the doubt because it saves my sanity. It makes me feel better. And I highly recommend doing the same. So are you jumping to rash conclusions? It's a good question to ask yourself. Because this is when we jump to rash conclusions, I think it's a great way to demotivate ourselves and get away from what it is that we want to be doing. Okay. Last on here we have is self-blame. Self-blame. It was my fault. If I would have just done it differently, regrets of the past is another way to think of this. Self-blame. It's all my fault. I'm a loser. I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that differently. This comes up all the time. And I think there's a huge difference between like blaming yourself and taking responsibility. They seem so similar, right? But how it affects us emotionally and how it affects us going forward and the actions that we continue to take, I think is a giant difference. But self-blame, blaming anyone or anything is probably not going to do any good. Taking responsibility and learning from it and adapting and improving, that is like wisdom. Like that's truly what we are aiming for. That is how we can be better people. So be very careful of this one. I used to do this. I mean, I still do all three of these, and that's why I'm talking about them this morning. And I'm sure you do too in some way, shape, or form. But the goal is to never run a marathon in 0 minutes and 0 seconds, but to reduce our time. Reduce our time under suffering. That's what we're here for, and that's our mission here at Talk to Tanners. We're really trying to reduce that suffering as much as possible for people so we can live happier and healthier lives. But self-blame, think of the last time that you blamed yourself. Think of the last time something maybe didn't go right. Were you really hard on yourself? And is that what you want to do? Was that demotivating? Did that make you want to go out there and go do more? Did it make you want to go out there and go improve? I know in my personal experience, which I can't argue, or no one can argue your own personal experience. Absolutely love that. But I know in my experience, whenever I was blaming myself and I was being too hard on myself, it made it nearly impossible to motivate myself to get up and go do it again. I had to really flip the script and be like, what am I learning here? How can I improve? I think that is the other end of it, because that's really what we're talking about here today is this, what is self-talk? Self-talk is the inner dialogue that comes in when we're going over these things. And I think there's two ways that self-talk is really, how is self-talk helpful? Like in a positive way. And I believe that's through, let's go over here. So I believe in two ways that self-talk is really helpful. I think it's good for concentration. And motivation. If you've done something a lot, you can tell yourself that, oh, I've been able to do this. I have experience with this. I think it's easy to motivate yourself under self-talk. And additionally, when you think of the example, I used to read out loud. Hopefully it didn't drive my roommates crazy. Shout out to Mitch and Braden, my homies. But when I was in college, when I was little, I refused to read, and it really bit me in the butt when I got into college because my reading and writing skills were pretty poor. And I had to read these textbooks out loud, or else I would just forget them. I would just read 2 paragraphs silently, and then I'd be like, I don't even know what I read. I have no idea. And I had to read out loud. That was the only way for me, and it really helped with concentration. So that is one form of self-talk, and that's a positive one. So if you're talking to yourself to just clarify, to concentrate on a particular topic because you got a million different thoughts going on, I think it does help with concentration. And what you're focusing on really matters. If you're concentrating on something bad, that's bad. Versus if you're trying to read books and you're trying to have one thought at a time, that'd be good. Next up is motivation. So we can tell ourselves and remind ourselves that when these come up, because it's not a question of if, the generalizer, the rash conclusions, and the self-blame, it's not a question whether these are going to come up. It's how often. And when they do, can we have positive self-talk to motivate ourselves to be like, wow, I'm actually putting myself out there. Say if you're making social media and you're on camera or whatever, you're doing interviews, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to go to the gym, you're trying to improve your life. Like, are you able to filter this bullshit that comes in and remind yourself, like, this is what I want to do? And nobody's good at anything they don't do all the time. And it takes practice to become better. But I'm better than I was yesterday because I'm smart enough to know the only good comparison I can ever make is myself. Not other people, not these Instagram stars with jack six packs and huge tits or whatever, right? We don't need to compare ourselves to that. But motivation. Can we filter this in the right way and not be the generalizer, rash conclusions, and self-blame? These are the 3 that we want to look out for today. So those are 3 ways that I have demotivated myself in the past. And they're just warnings, things to watch out for. We can raise the awareness to it, and I think it can make us happier and healthy people. But that's all I really had for today, is I just want to get on here and talk about ways that I've demotivated myself in the past and how I'm a lot more conscious to it now. And I'm a lot happier and healthier because of it. We've had a lot of coaching clients who just blame themselves for everything. They would just jump to these rash conclusions. I'm like, I'm just worthless and I'm not doing this right. And I don't know how to do this, so I can't do this. Or just get so frustrated and so overwhelmed that it just shuts everything down. And that's what we want to be careful of, because if the only way to get real results is to take action. But if we're emotionally jacked up and we're feeling overwhelmed and we're scared and all this, and we're doing all this stuff that's like harmful to our psyche, then we're probably not going to take action. And if we don't take action, we're not going to get the results. So that, to me, is what self-talk is all about, that inner dialogue. We want to make sure it's positive and it's helping us concentrate and it's motivating us over here. But hopefully this was helpful. These are 3 ways to demotivate yourself. If you want to not be motivated, do those. But I'm avoiding those as much as possible. Am I going to do them? Yes. How often I'm going to do them? Less today than I did yesterday. And cheers to that, friends. That's all I got. If you know anyone who's really hard on themselves, who's having a hard time with self-talk, send them over to talktotanner.com, where you can schedule a call with me. We can chit-chat about it, see if we can do some coaching exercises. Maybe they would be interested in the one-page life plan, coaching program, or the other slew of stuff that we have. But make sure to go over to talktotanner.com, check that stuff out, and see if it'll be helpful for you. Thanks so much, friends. And make sure to tune in with us. I need to back out of this. I have an interview tomorrow. I want people to come and check out. So where is that at? Okay, that's my LinkedIn. Okay. Let me get this over here. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone having a good morning this morning? Let's go over to my personal profile. Oh, it has me going live right now. Okay. Cool. All right, I found it, folks. Good morning, good morning. But tomorrow we are going to have a really fun interview with one of the marketing members and partnerships that I just recently formed. She's going to come on here, collegiate athlete, great, amazing with social media stuff, connecting, awesome with business relationships. And their team dynamic has been really impressive, and it's been exciting to get to know them. But they're the Novus group, so I'll be excited. Me and Jocelyn will be talking here live tomorrow at 8 a.m. So if you know anyone who wants to learn more about social media marketing, they want to just learn about just being motivated and happy and how business partnerships really work, make sure to tell them to come tune in tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where we'll be hustling, bustling, and having a good time. So come check us out live 8 a.m. tomorrow on your favorite social media platform. But I'll check you guys later. Have an incredible, incredible day. And in case you needed to hear it, I love you. You're badass. You got this. Don't let this generalizing and rash conclusion and self-blame bring you down. Just bring awareness to it. A little forgiveness goes a long way. Cheers to y'all. Love y'all. Peace.